So crypto universe, I'm back with another video. I'm excited, you should be too, and let's get into these exciting stories today. So first, let's get into some quick market updates. The entire crypto market is pretty much trading sideways right now. It's down 0.41%. It's still at a $3.3 trillion market cap. When you look at most of the major coins, everything outside of Bitcoin is down at the moment. I don't expect any major moves. My personal opinion, I don't expect any major moves to happen until maybe the summertime or the fall, but we'll see how that goes. But let's get into the first story here, and this is from Cointelegraph, and it's a report saying that the Federal Reserve Bank of New York and the Bank of International Settlements are testing smart contracts to explore tokenized monetary policy. And this is major news. Again, all these people for many years kept saying that this was all one, crypto and all of this was all one big scam and blah, 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 blah. And yet you see all these different government agencies come out and say that they're testing this and looking into that. In other words, they're already setting it in motion. And by the time they let the average person know, they'll already be knee deep in the space and they'll have as much control as they need to have. And probably all the control, if we're being honest. But what I'm very curious about is what blockchain are they choosing to test smart contracts on? Because yeah, technically they could make their own blockchain, but in all likelihood they're not going to. Many of these government agencies are slow, stubborn, ineffective, and they're more likely to just go find a blockchain based company and use their technology to implement smart contract capabilities that can help them with their goals of a tokenized monetary policy. I'm very curious which blockchain they may look into. I would hope it's not Ethereum. Now, if it is, that's still great for crypto, but the reason I say I would hope it's not Ethereum is because even though Ethereum is one of the OGs in crypto, of course, it has the name recognition, it has a big ecosystem, of course. It's obviously not the most effective. It's not the most effective technology. It's not the most effective platform that you could use for smart contracts. You could also look into alternatives like Casper or the hundreds of others that offer similar levels of quality. So we'll see if they actually announce anytime soon what they actually plan to do when it comes to, will they put out their own blockchain or will they explore bringing in a different company that already has their own blockchain already developed. And I think that would be major for the space, and I think any coin tied to that would probably see a jump in price as well, as we just based off of the speculation. We already know how that is. Next story I wanted to get into here is from Kevin O'Leary. He was speaking at Consensus, and he wanted to let the HBAR know that he has a big bag of HBAR. Let's get into the clip right now.
The majority of institutional capital waiting on the wings primarily is interested in Bitcoin. And if you ask a large institution after it's designated a commodity or a security, they're going to put on a...
I think it's very interesting that a lot of times people like the Kevin O'Learys, they seem to go out of their way to not mention XRP whenever they bring up the biggest coins and the biggest companies tied to crypto. Now, maybe that's just me being a bit traumatized from all the propaganda and all the negative narratives that were put out, all the FUD that was put out against Ripple and XRP during 2019 to 2022 when I was first getting into crypto. And because of that, I always get suspicious of these people that seem to go out of their way to try to act like XRP and the company Ripple isn't worth mentioning. But who knows, maybe he doesn't care about that and he just simply isn't a fan of Ripple and doesn't think XRP has that bright of a future. Who knows? But either way, he makes it known that he has a big bag of Herdera Hshgraph. He is a big investor. This is a major endorsement, and it's interesting to see him start to, even though at times he kind of says some things I don't agree with. You know, Kevin O'Leary is still a guy who, for the most part, has been a major advocate for crypto. So let's continue with the rest of this video.
1.5% weighting, and they're going to start with Bitcoin. Now, what happens to the level twos and everything else? I mean, I'm a big shareholder in HBAR. I'm optimistic about the volatility. It's crazy at the price, but I own a bunch of positions. Avalanche, you know, ETH, like everybody else. But that's just diversification. But really, I think what'll happen.
So yeah,
when the
like he was saying, when he's
clear,
talking about these institutions getting involved and how it's gonna be like a vortex that just sucks up so much cash. I agree with him. I believe him. But I think he's also referring to the normies out there. By normies, of course, I just mean the average people, the average Joes and the average Janes who don't care about this space, don't pay it any attention, and who believe the media's narratives whenever they say that it's just one big scam. And those are always going to be the people that are going to be last to know, because by the time these big institutions finally talk about crypto in a overly positive light, it'll be once they have full control. It'll be once the average person is in a position to where they can't really make any money, because let's be very clear here. Most people tied to crypto or into crypto are mainly into it because they've heard that people have made life-changing amounts of money, which is why, of course, meme coins will still and will continue to remain way more dominant than utility coins, to be honest with you, utility-based tokens, to be honest, just because most people, they want to come in. I call it the casino mentality. They want to go into the casino with $1 and they want to walk out a millionaire. And you know, it's possible, but it's a long shot. But either way, that's still what people want at the end of the day. And unfortunately, by the time most normies actually have the courage to get involved, it'll be once it is far too late. It is way too down the line, and there's just no shot at it. But that's, you know, that'll be when companies like Bank of America come through and say, hey, come buy crypto directly from our app. Like, you know, once you start seeing that, it's over. Like, it's a wrap. And it is what it is. So moving on to the last story here. This is a AI related story right here, posted from Decrypt, and it's OpenAI's new Codex agents get closer to downsizing your dev team. ChatGPT maker OpenAI is pushing software development into new territory with cloud-based AI agents that work while you're at lunch. OpenAI just unveiled the latest iteration of Codex, a system of cloud-powered AI agents that can tackle multiple programming tasks simultaneously without tying up your laptop's resources. The announcement comes just 1 month after OpenAI released its free open source version, Codex CLI. Unlike the normal code completion or code generation tools we've become accustomed to during the Vibe coding sessions, in which we iterate with an AI chatbot several times until the results are satisfactory, Codex operates as a semi-autonomous agent with its own computing resources. It's capable of handling everything from bug hunting to complex refactoring. So quick side note, it's not as smart as a human being. Of course, it doesn't have full autonomy, but you're talking about inching closer and closer to having full autonomy. So continuing, software engineering is changing, and by the end of 2025, it's going to look fundamentally different, OpenAI President Greg Brockman said in an official presentation. Today, we're going to take a step towards where we think software engineering is going, and we are releasing a new system, which is a remote software agent that can run many tasks in parallel. So long story short, this is a product, this is a technology that is going to take many people's jobs. Like, so often when we talk about jobs that can be taken, we typically talk about jobs that are considered, you know, low skill jobs. Like, that sounds, I don't like saying that often because it's a little disrespectful to people that do those jobs, and even though it's technically low skilled, they're working very hard to make an honest living. But those are the jobs that people are quick to say will be replaced by robots or AI, which is true, but we often forget that even some jobs that are considered higher in prestige or higher in salary, these jobs are still at risk as well, such as if you're somebody who's in any sort of computer programming, if you're somebody who is a software developer, you know, if you're in that sort of field where you're supposed to be the one coding, and they're introducing a technology that can code while you're at lunch. It's not necessarily coding well, in the literal sense it is coding while you're at lunch, but it's not actually coding while you're at lunch. It's training to replace you. Like, that's just what it is. And people could say that they don't believe that, but that's what this is inching towards. This doesn't necessarily mean the earth is gonna shatter. You know, new jobs can come about, but at the same time, I think people should try to look towards the future and be prepared for anything that could happen that could just put you in an
unfamiliar situation where you no longer have a job that you thought was secure. And again, this is why I think crypto is such a at this specific point, this time period, the past 10 years, it's been such 13 years, well, no, 14 years, no, 16 years when Bitcoin came out in 2009. I think it's such a fascinating place at this current moment, because there's still a chance where, hey, if you put the money into the right project, the right coin, you could find yourself in a position to where you can have some sort of freedom and some sort of leverage to where you don't have to worry about just being completely blindsided one day with the severance package and a notice that you're going to be laid off because you've been replaced by OpenAI's new Codex platform, new Codex agent. But that's just me. I don't want to be on a soapbox, because people can view things however they want to view it. Let me know what your thoughts are.